Article 700.9 above the National Electrical Code, or NEC, mandates that emergency wiring must be kept entirely independent of other wiring and equipment. The core principle behind this requirement is to ensure the reliability and functionality of the emergency power system. In the event of a failure or fault in a normal power system, the emergency power system must remain operational without being affected. This independence minimizes the risk of a single point of failure compromising both the normal and emergency power sources. Considering a scenario where a normal power switch and an emergency power switch are installed within the same enclosure, the question arises whether a barrier within the enclosure would satisfy the independence requirement outlined in Article 700.9 The answer is no. A barrier within a single enclosure does not provide the complete electrical and physical isolation necessary to guarantee the independence of the emergency system. Several factors contribute to this determination. Firstly, the presence of both normal and emergency power conductors within the same enclosure, even with a barrier, increases the risk of accidental contact or arcing between the systems. A fault in the normal power wiring could potentially propagate to the emergency power wiring, despite the barrier, especially under high fault conditions. Secondly, the shared enclosure introduces the potential for common mode failures. A common mode failure occurs when a single event or condition causes multiple components or systems to fail simultaneously. For instance, a fire within the enclosure could damage both the normal and emergency power wiring, regardless of the barrier. Similarly, excessive moisture or physical damage to the enclosure could compromise both systems. Thirdly, the NEC emphasizes physical separation as a key method for ensuring independence. This physical separation minimizes the risk of interaction between the systems. Article 700.9 is interpreted to necessitate that emergency wiring and equipment are installed in separate raceways, cables, and enclosures from normal power wiring. This segregation extends to the physical location of the equipment. Installing the normal and emergency power switches in separate boxes provides this essential physical separation. It ensures that a fault or failure in one system is less likely to impact the other. Furthermore, the use of separate enclosures facilitates maintenance and troubleshooting. When the systems are physically separated, it is easier to isolate and repair faults without affecting the other system. This is particularly crucial for emergency power systems, which must be available when needed. The NEC provides specific guidelines on acceptable methods for achieving independence. These methods include the use of separate conduits, cable trays, and enclosures. In some cases, a fire-rated barrier may be permitted to separate the systems, but this is typically in situations where complete physical separation is impractical, such as in large switchgear or panel boards. However, even in these cases, the barrier must be specifically designed and approved for this purpose and must provide a level of protection equivalent to that of separate enclosures. To comply with Article 700.9, the normal and emergency power switches must be installed in separate enclosures. This ensures the required independence between the two systems, minimizing the risk of common mode failures and facilitating maintenance and troubleshooting. This separation must be maintained throughout the entire emergency power system, from the power source to the emergency loads. This includes ensuring that all wiring, raceways, and equipment associated with the emergency system are physically separated from the normal power system. The application of Article 700.9 extends beyond just the switches to encompass all components of the emergency system. This includes transfer switches, generators, batteries, and any other equipment essential for the functioning of the emergency power supply. All these components must be installed and wired in such a manner that they are independent of the normal power system. Consider a situation where an emergency generator is installed to provide backup power. The wiring from the generator to the transfer switch must be completely separate from the normal power wiring. This includes using separate conduits or cable trays and ensuring that the wiring is not routed through the same enclosures as the normal power wiring. Similarly, the transfer switch itself must be designed to provide complete isolation between the normal and emergency power sources. This is typically achieved through the use of mechanically interlocked contacts that prevent the simultaneous connection of both power sources. In the context of emergency lighting systems, the same principles apply. The wiring for emergency lights must be separate from the wiring for normal lighting. This ensures that the emergency lights will continue to function even if the normal lighting system fails. This separation is particularly important in critical areas such as exit routes, stairwells, and assembly areas. In healthcare facilities, the requirements for emergency power systems are even more stringent. Article 517 of the NEC provides additional requirements for healthcare facilities, including the need for multiple levels of emergency power and the use of essential electrical systems. These systems are designed to ensure that critical equipment and functions such as life support systems and operating rooms continue to operate during a power outage. The NEC also addresses the use of alternative power sources, such as uninterruptible power supplies, or UPS, and battery systems. These systems can provide short-term backup power for critical equipment and can be used in conjunction with emergency generators to provide a more reliable emergency power supply. The installation and maintenance of emergency power systems must be performed by qualified electrical personnel who are familiar with the requirements of the NEC and other applicable codes and standards. Regular inspections and testing of the emergency power system are essential to ensure that it will function properly when needed. These inspections should include testing of the generator, transfer switch, batteries, and other components of the system. The NEC provides specific guidelines on the frequency and scope of these inspections. In addition to the NEC, other codes and standards may also apply to emergency power systems. These include the National Fire Protection Association, or NFPA, 101 Life Safety Code, which provides requirements for emergency lighting and egress in buildings, and the International Building Code, or IDC, which provides requirements for emergency power systems in certain types of buildings. It is important to consult all applicable codes and standards when designing, installing, and maintaining emergency power systems. To summarize, Article 700.9 above the NEC requires that emergency wiring be kept entirely independent of other wiring and equipment. This independence is essential for ensuring the reliability and functionality of the emergency power system. A barrier within a single enclosure is not sufficient to meet this requirement. The normal and emergency power switches must be installed in separate enclosures to provide the necessary physical and electrical separation. This separation must be maintained throughout the entire emergency power system, from the power source to the emergency loads. Compliance with Article 700.9 is essential for ensuring the safety and reliability of emergency power systems. It helps to minimize the risk of common mode failures and facilitates maintenance and troubleshooting. By following the requirements of the NEC and other applicable codes and standards, electrical professionals can ensure that emergency power systems will function properly when needed, protecting lives and property. Understanding the nuances of Article 700.9 is crucial for electrical contractors, engineers, and inspectors. The interpretation and application of this code section can have significant implications for the design and installation of emergency power systems. Firstly, the definition of independent in the context of Article 700.9 is not explicitly defined in the NEC. However, the generally accepted interpretation is that independent means physically and electrically separate to the extent that a failure in one system will not impact the operation of the other system. Secondly, the use of listed and labeled equipment is essential for ensuring compliance with the NEC. Equipment that is listed and labeled by a recognized testing laboratory, such as Underwriters Laboratories, or all, has been tested and evaluated to meet specific safety standards. This provides assurance that the equipment is suitable for its intended use and will perform safely and reliably. Thirdly, the documentation of the emergency power system is critical for ensuring its proper operation and maintenance. This documentation should include detailed wiring diagrams, equipment specifications, and testing and maintenance procedures. This documentation should be readily available to qualified electrical personnel. Fourthly, the coordination between the electrical designer, installer, and inspector is essential for ensuring compliance with Article 700.9. The electrical designer should specify the requirements for the emergency power system in the design documents. The installer should follow the design documents and install the system in accordance with the NEC and other applicable codes and standards. The inspector should verify that the system has been installed correctly and that it meets all applicable requirements. Fifthly, the ongoing maintenance and testing of the emergency power system are essential for ensuring its continued reliability. This includes regular inspections of the equipment, testing of the generator and transfer switch, and maintenance of the batteries. A well-maintained emergency power system will provide reliable backup power when needed, protecting lives and property. In addition to the above considerations, it is important to be aware of any local amendments or interpretations of the NEC. Local jurisdictions may have their own amendments to the NEC that are more stringent than the national code. It is important to consult with the local electrical inspector to determine if there are any local requirements that apply to emergency power systems. Consider an example scenario. A hospital is installing a new emergency power system to serve its critical care units. The system includes a generator, a transfer switch, and emergency lighting. The electrical designer specifies that the emergency wiring must be completely separate from the normal power wiring, in accordance with Article 700.9 IB. The installer uses separate conduits and cable trays for the emergency wiring and ensures that the wiring is not routed through the same enclosures as the normal power wiring. The transfer switch is designed to provide complete isolation between the normal and emergency power sources. The inspector verifies that the system has been installed correctly and that it meets all applicable requirements. The hospital implements a regular testing and maintenance program for the emergency power system. This includes weekly testing of the generator and monthly testing of the transfer switch. The batteries are inspected and maintained regularly. As a result, the hospital has a reliable emergency power system that will protect its critical care units in the event of a power outage. Another example scenario. A large office building is installing an emergency lighting system to serve its exit routes and stairwells. The system includes battery-powered emergency lights and a generator. The electrical designer specifies that the emergency lighting wiring must be completely separate from the normal lighting wiring, in accordance with Article 700.9 IB. The installer uses separate conduits and cable trays for the emergency lighting wiring and ensures that the wiring is not routed through the same enclosures as the normal lighting wiring. The battery-powered emergency lights are tested regularly to ensure that they are functioning properly. The generator is tested monthly to ensure that it will start and run when needed. The building owner implements a regular inspection and maintenance program for the emergency lighting system. This includes weekly inspections of the emergency lights and monthly inspections of the generator. As a result, the office building has a reliable emergency lighting system that will guide occupants to safety in the event of a power outage. Understanding and applying Article 700.9 IB correctly is crucial for ensuring the safety and reliability of emergency power systems. By following the requirements of the NEC and other applicable codes and standards, electrical professionals can protect lives and property. The principles of separation and independence outlined in Article 700.9 IB are fundamental to the design and installation of all emergency power systems. By adhering to these principles, electrical professionals can ensure that emergency power systems will function properly when needed, providing essential backup power for critical loads.